Thanks very much, Chair, and I want to begin by joining with members and sending condolences to Paul's family. Also to thank all our visitors and guests today. Just a couple of questions. A lot of them have been asked already, but just to follow up, I suppose, in the future. Just in relation to HAP inspections, it's something that I come across very regular in my line of work, especially with local authority houses, obviously. And I'm just asking, is SEAI involved with local authorities and the degree of the problems that are out there at the moment? And is there any mechanism, I know it's been mentioned in an early contribution, is there any mechanism that we can actually, that SEAI and local authorities can come together quicker in trying to get solutions for landlords? What I'm experiencing, unfortunately, is that landlords are basically saying they don't have the finance, etc., to provide the funding, and then the rental property is being lost, and obviously that has a knock-on effect. So are the conversations happening between SEAI and local authorities in relation to HAP inspections and what's happening there? Second, I suppose, area, Chair, is in relation to warmer homes. Just to put on record, I think it is a great scheme. I missed earlier the average length of time, and maybe that could be confirmed again as to when that's actually happening. I know that there's 36 contractors involved in the scheme at the moment, and that was through a tender process. But are there a new tender process in play, or when will that come in play to try and increase? Because it was said that if we got more contractors into the scheme, those waiting times could come down. So I just, is there a new tender due, or when will the next tendering process, or are you looking or actively seeking for more contractors to become part of the warmer home scheme? I'm not sure whether it was asked already, Chair, but just in relation to windows and doors, I came in on the conversation on the Housing Aid grant and that you have to be 66. So is there a specific grant from SEAI for windows and doors for those that are under 66? It's a huge issue for a lot of us, and a lot of us that are chasing changes in the Housing Aid grant as well. It comes up on a regular basis. And I suppose then as well, Chair, just in relation to the app that you referred to and has been mentioned here, you know, I note that the number of applications have gone up and up again and quadrupled in the last number of years. And I still come across people on a weekly and even daily basis who are not aware of what they can obtain under warmer homes, etc. And I'm just wondering, some of the cases that I've come across the last couple of weeks are really horrific, to say the least, and they really need assistance now. So is there a priority cases under the warmer home scheme, or is it strictly done on time in the scheme? And maybe again to ask the question as well, the inspectors that are sent, what is the average waiting time for inspectors to actually go out and inspect a warmer homes application scheme at the moment, noting that an inspection then will have to be followed up with work which could take longer. And I just want to also join in Deputy O'Cossy's on the health benefits of retrofitting, and it's something I come across, I'm sure other members do as well, particularly in relation to rooms that need ventilation and obviously heat, etc. And once the work is done, the health benefits. So I think something that we miss when we talk about retrofitting, and it's something we should be speaking about more and more. And finally then, I suppose just a quick question for SVP, just to thank them for the work they do. But I've raised this before, you'll be familiar, Chair, in relation to community welfare services and additional needs payments. Yesterday in a couple of clinics I did, you know, there was an issue in relation to additional needs payments and the length of time it's taking and the amount of documentation, etc., that people who are experiencing fuel poverty have to go through in order to apply and obtain additional needs payments at their most time of need. And I'm just wondering, have SVP, Sir Vincent Paul, come across this? Have they any comments in relation to, are they working with the Community Welfare Service in trying to help those people obtain those grants in a quicker period of time? Thanks, Chair.
Dr. Byrne, one or two questions there, and then Dr. Keelty.
Thank you, Senator Ward. Just in relation to your first question, SEAI has no direct role with the local authority in terms of housing assistance payment inspections. I think the question was pivoted though towards the renters and things like that. So the landlords can participate in their schemes, what we call non-commercial landlords. So the private landlords of one or two homes that can participate in schemes just like any other person. And I understand, I have not 100% sure, I need to confirm, but the low-cost finance option that's been rolled out will be available to non-commercial landlords as well, in a sense. So that's but we don't have any role directly in relation to inspections that may take place. The other thing as well, there has been a tax incentive, I think it was last year, was introduced for landlords of €10,000 to be offset against rental income for retrofitting if it's done, an approved scheme and things like that. So there's some options there for landlords, not by any means all of the options required, but some of the options. The average wait time, just confirmed, to get from application to a survey is 12 months, and then at this present point in time, application works complete is 20 months. That does vary, and as you can imagine, with the application rate increasing, that timeline isn't going to get, it's going to go one way. On the warmer home scheme, we just went to tender late last year. Around September time, we kicked off the new panel. And the new panel was a €794 million tender, and it's for a period of €794 million under 4 years. So it's one of the issues, and I suppose something we have, and it's just following the guidelines, it's a procured panel. So the way that kind of procurement works is you open the door at a period of time, contractors come in, we've appointed 36, the door closes, so we have 36 on the panel. What we did do was, to the nth degree possible, like within the framework of legal and procurement agreements, we made it more easier to, I suppose, engage subcontractors. So we may not get, we cannot get by law additional contractors because it's a procured framework. We can get the contractors to increase and widen their base by bringing on more subcontractors. And in matter of fact, that's how a lot of contractors actually start off. They do a bit of work, they sub you up, they start building capacity and capabilities, not just one measure, but 2 or 3 measures, and then when the next tender rolls around, they'll tender themselves. So there's actually no planning at the moment for a new tender. We've literally just kicked off the old one, and we're working to that at the moment. But there is ability to bring in subcontractors in relation to that. On the issue then of just the awareness and notification, I think my colleague Ruth might want to give a comment on the warm home scheme, just in terms of, we take your point that there's people out there, and we've heard it from the committee, and we know it ourselves, and from St Vincent de Paul, that they're just living in a different space. They're not thinking about energy efficiency, they're not thinking about schemes. They don't have the capabilities to look at these documents and things like that. I know through the SECs and a lot of work, the reach out work, that Ruth will be involved. You might have a comment on that.
Certainly. So we do an awful lot of outreach within communities and raising awareness, and like yourself, doing clinics on the grants that are available, and we're rolling out a series of talks in local libraries starting next month as well. So we're trying to reach people in lots of different ways. We do a lot of online training as well that's made available. So within our 800 communities, we've kind of direct contact with about 40,000 different people. So they all have mummies and daddies and aunties and uncles and things like that might be suited for the warmer home. So it does raise awareness in that way. And I suppose everywhere we go, we're conscious that people are in different circumstances. So you talk about the range of different supports that are there. And obviously Warmer Homes has a huge amount of interest because it is free. But it's making people aware as well that there are opportunities to help prevent future energy poverty too. So those easy to treat measures, the attics and cavities, if they're there in your home, the measures to do are there now and the supports are there now, and then hopefully in time you may become eligible for warmer homes, but you might not need it hopefully if you've taken those steps along the way. So there's an awful lot of work being done to reach as many households as we can, to raise awareness about the programme, whilst also trying to manage that expectation about the waiting time. We'd love to say to people, contact us today, you'll get your house done tomorrow, but the more we make people aware, the bigger the waiting list gets, the more people get frustrated with how long they have to be. So we have to constantly balance both sides of that in terms of raising awareness for the most vulnerable, and treating them and trying to increase the capacity in the schemes as well.
I just might ask my colleague John.
Mr. Randalls.
Yeah, so, sorry, you also asked about the waiting time for the survey, the initial survey. So the average wait time is 12 months currently. The average time from application to completion of works, and we measure completion as works when the contractor gets paid, they may have already moved out of the home, is around 20 months. So that's the length of time. In terms of the warmth and wellbeing, the warmth and wellbeing pilot was a very active pilot in a certain area of Dublin. I think it was up around Dublin 20. The refinements of that report were focused on the health benefits. The department have a report from the London School of Tropical Medicine, and that is pending publication. But there is a definite link between retrofitting and positive health benefits.
Senator Wall?
Just on the windows, the windows and doors.
Dr. Keelty, first of all, and I bring in Senator Wall then. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Senator. Just in relation to the Community Welfare Service, we have been linking in quite significantly with the CWO service, particularly through the cost of living crisis, about improving wait times, ensuring people can get the support that they need in a timely manner. Wait times have gone down for urgent needs, but we are still seeing probably longer waiting times than they should be for things like household goods, furniture, things like that. Some of the recommendations we've put forward in kind of streamlining that a bit more, the really importance of face-to-face contact and that being retained so that people do have...
The committee would be very interested in any suggestions you have in that particular area. If you'd like to forward them on to us, we'd be very interested to hear them. Sorry, Dr. Keith.
The application form, you know, if people have literacy issues, assistance with that, English language, English not being their first language. We also think there's probably an opportunity to do some passporting. So if you've already satisfied a means test for social welfare payment, there should be a way to expedite that you're not going back through another process again. So things like that can help, but it has improved, but we're still working to make sure that it's reaching people that need it.
Through the chair.
Yeah, briefly, yeah.
No, but this is hugely important.
Absolutely.
Because nothing's taken on anybody's word. If I make a tax return, they take it on my word. Well, not I don't because I'm POE, but if a self-employed makes a tax return, revenue do spot audits. Now, in social welfare, for a small amount of money, and remember the big money involved with taxation, for a very, very small amount of money, if you provide bank statements, you've got bank statements, which can be very onerous nowadays, 5 days, 7 days to get a bank statement. And then they keep wanting to update it again, as if you're suddenly going to come into a windfall of 100,000 or something, and still be looking for some small new fridge. And like proportionate to the state expenditure, this is small stuff. And I'm finding that, and I don't want to sink into the ball, I'm finding that there's very little understanding about the huge variation of personality issues and issues that arise when you're dealing with the most vulnerable in trying to get information and so on. And are you coming across this all the time? And the tyranny of they're wanting everything online, and they want to do it on paper and so on. And then can I make one final point, and this applies
briefly now, because in fairness, Senator Wall has been waiting a good while now to come in.
This issue of a kind of reluctance to deal with TDs and to take it on face value, which GDPR covers, that we're acting for the clients.
Thanks. Dr. Kilty and then Senator Wall.
Yeah, it is the face-to-face is really important for people who are in financial difficulty. The community welfare officer may be just one person that they're dealing with at the moment. Just say they have a disconnection notice, they're talking to their supplier, they may also be talking to MABs. So the complexity of people's lives and the importance of being able to speak to someone and explain your case and making that process as easy as possible is really important. Just to make a point, because this is critical, the disconnection moratorium will end at the end of this month, and people will have a lot of debt built up. So it's really important that we have that coordinated response at a local level so people can get the support they need so they're not being disconnected in the coming weeks. And the Community Welfare Office is key to that as well. Senator
Wall.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dr. Keatley, for that. And as you said yourself, Chair, it's something I think the committee will be taking up as well, because the moratorium is coming to an end, and it was said to me yesterday at a number of clinics. But just one final question that wasn't answered, just on the windows and doors, the SEAI, is there a specific grant? It is on their website about windows and doors. I continually get it, but is there a specific grant that somebody who is under 66 can't apply for, a housing aid grant can apply for, and are SEAI doing window and door grants at the moment? Chair, thank you.
Dr. Byrne.
Thanks. First of all, our grants are kind of age agnostic, so we don't have a kind of age threshold on the grants situation. We kind of grant relating to the home. Under the one-stop shop scheme, where the entire fabric of the home is done, there is a grant available for windows and doors. On the individual measure scheme, there is no individual grant for windows and doors, and as part of the warmer home scheme, the fully funded, depending on the outcome of the survey, windows and doors are part of the package that they may do in a home, pending what comes out of the survey.
You happy with that, Senator Wall?
Yeah, just in relation to that, Chair. So, is it just under the one-stop shops a system that a person can apply for? And again, I'm sorry for concentrating on this, but it is a huge issue for me on windows and doors. Or is it a fact? And I am aware of obviously with the Warmer Home Scheme and what that happens. But I'm talking about someone who may not qualify for the Warmer Home Scheme. Can they make an application under the 50% grant or 40% grant scheme for just specifically windows and doors? And I think that's the question I have.
Not as an individual measure, and there's a technical reason for that, Senator, is that we look at because they're energy efficiency schemes, and you're looking under the one-stop shop. The windows and doors form part of the overall fabric of the energy upgrade of the home. On the individual measure scheme, replacing windows and doors in isolation is not the most efficient way to develop your homes. You're looking at wall insulation, things like that would be the more efficient way of doing it.
That answers the Chair. Thank you very much. Thank you.